The night was unusually quiet, but it was not a quiet of peace. It was the kind of quiet that comes just before a storm. Around the White House in Washington, security was tighter than usual. The sky had no clouds, yet the air was heavy, oppressive. Inside the Oval Office, one man was awake, far from sleep. Donald Trump stood by the window, staring at the lawn outside, as if waiting for an answer hidden somewhere in the darkness. In his hands was a thick red file, stamped boldly with black letters, Iran. He opened it, revealing maps, satellite images, classified reports, and numbers that could stop a heart. Each page told a story, each story ending with the same question: what next? At the same time, halfway across the world, the streets of Tehran were screaming. Silence did not exist there. There was noise, fire, fear. People had poured into the streets. Chants rang out, tears flowed, and gunfire ripped through the air. This was no ordinary protest. It was not just about inflation or unemployment. It was the eruption of years of buried anger, frustration, and despair. A young man named Ali, barely 20, ran through a narrow alley, holding the hand of his little sister, Sarah. She kept glancing back, her eyes full of tears and questions. Panting, she whispered, "Ali, where is Mom?" Ali didn't answer. His lips moved, but no sound came. Because he knew the truth, and he didn't have the courage to voice it. Behind them, a loud explosion echoed, and Sarah screamed. Ali pulled her into his arms, ducking behind the shutter of a closed shop. At that moment, a military truck stopped at the bend of the street. Soldiers in black uniforms poured out. Their faces showed no emotion, only orders. One officer shouted, "No one steps outside." In the distance, a woman's scream cut through the night, then silence returned. Back in Washington, Trump closed the file and set it on the table. In front of him sat the top generals of the Pentagon. The room was silent, yet everyone knew this silence carried danger. A general spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Sir, if we strike, it won't stay limited to Iran. The entire Middle East could ignite." Trump leaned back in his chair, fingers intertwined, and said, "And if we do nothing?" The general hesitated for a moment before replying, "Then Iran will see it as weakness." A single thought echoed in Trump's mind. How will history judge this moment? Meanwhile, a notification appeared on his mobile. He looked at the screen. Fresh videos from Iran were spreading across social media. Wounded children, crying mothers, empty-eyed youth. Trump closed the video, but the images remained imprinted in his mind. Suddenly, he said, "Prepare a tweet." Minutes later, the world read, "The Iranian people deserve freedom. The world is watching." It was more than just words. It was a message, a warning, a promise, all at once. In Tehran, Ali and Sarah were hiding inside an old mosque. The walls were cold, but at least there were no bullets inside. Sarah sat on the floor, her hands trembling. She asked softly, "Will America help us?" Ali drew a deep breath. "I don't know. But if someone is watching, maybe we won't be completely alone." Time passed slowly. Outside, the chaos surged and ebbed. The night stretched endlessly. A new classified report arrived in Washington. It revealed cracks within Iran's military and government. Some units refused to follow orders. Yet it also warned, if an external strike happened, all factions would unite. Trump read the report with his eyes closed. Two paths lay before him, both dangerous. One led to war, with potentially millions of lives lost. The other was restraint, which could be seen as weakness. Meanwhile, in Tehran, Ali and Sarah tried to leave the streets. Every step was cautious, every shadow a potential threat. The air still carried the stench of gunpowder, and the city felt like a war zone. Back in Washington, Trump stood by the window. Dawn was approaching, painting the sky faintly. He called his advisors over and said, "Halt the strike." The room fell silent. Someone whispered, "Sir." Trump's voice was firm. "I said, Halt the strike. Minutes later, the news broke. Headlines across the world read, U.S. halts potential strike on Iran. Social media exploded. Some called it weakness. Others hailed it as humanity's victory. Analysts debated. Arguments flared. In Tehran, for a brief moment, the gunfire ceased. Ali peered out from the mosque. The streets were empty, but the air still smelled of gunpowder. Sarah smiled for the first time. Maybe. We survived. Ali looked at the sky. Maybe. In Washington, Trump held a press conference. He did not give a long speech. He said only, power is not only about destruction. Sometimes, power is in restraint. These words became part of history. But the story did not end there. Iran was not completely stable. The spark of protest had not died, it was merely suppressed. Tensions between the US and Iran had lessened, but they had not vanished. Ali and Sarah moved to another city, trying to rebuild a new life. Fear still lingered in their hearts, but so did hope. Trump placed the red file back into the cabinet. He understood that some decisions are never completely right, yet their weight lasts a lifetime. This war was not about missiles. It was about decisions. It was not Trump versus Iran. It was power versus humanity. And this story is still being written, every moment, with new choices, new dangers, and new consequences.